Hey everybody, I have a new song out. It's a cover of Bloodborne's Laurence the First Vicar. And I did this song as a contribution to the Dance Macabre 7 compilation, which is something that comes out roughly every year. But it's where a bunch of musicians get together and pay tribute to horror-themed games, movies, pretty much any kind of horror-themed media. And this was something that I really wanted to do because it would kind of push the envelope creatively, and also I just got to interact with a bunch of super talented performers, musicians, artists, etc. This compilation is actually something I followed a couple times, and just being a part of it was really awesome. So let's talk about Bloodborne just very quickly. It's part of the kind of the Dark Souls series, or the Soulsborne series. I've always been a huge fan of it, and just felt appropriate for me to do a cover of a song from the soundtrack of that game. Now, this song in particular is a little obscure, and it's probably not as well known as some of the other songs off of the soundtrack. Pretty much because it's only part of the DLC, and it's part of an optional boss fight. You have to get like way to the end of the DLC just to even get to this boss fight, and if you happen to get there, you may be so frustrated by this boss fight that you're not really paying attention to the song anyway. So anyway, I wanted to kind of do this video to just talk about some of the creative things I did as part of my cover and arrangement and things like that. It's not meant to be a mixing tutorial or anything like that. And there's some things that I did that you probably wouldn't notice otherwise unless I pointed them out. And kind of sharing that kind of stuff is what I think is really exciting. So anyway, let's hop over to the DAW and we'll see what we got here. So here we are in the project. And before I really do anything, I just covering this at a very high level, which is, this is undoubtedly the largest single project I've worked on. This is at least for me, this is huge. There's a lot going on, but the thing is, there's so many different sections to this song, and I tried to make each section kind of have its own little flavor and interest. And there's like an orchestral section, there's a vocal section, there's metal sections, there's clean guitars sections, like, and it's just the song just kind of goes left and right and up and down. And I kind of intended for it to be that way when I started out with this, but then it just kind of exploded into something that I felt like I lost control of for a while, but then we kind of reined it back in. So I'll go through some sections here. I'm not every single one, but I'll just point out some things that I think are interesting. So right here we have the how the song opens, which is just a pretty simple piano line. Okay, you get the idea. And I'm pretty liberal with applying things like reverb and delay. In that section, it's pretty much just a lot of reverb. I'm just trying to create this like giant cathedral type of feeling, and we'll kind of get some of that as we go through the rest of this. But now let's go to this transition. So this is the transition that goes from kind of this quiet part as you get into the first metal section. So I wanted to create this feeling that there's like this wall of sound coming towards you. So here we have, this is just a sample of the Cleric Beast Roar from Bloodborne. It's the same thing, but I just kind of offset it a little bit and then panned it left to right. And just, you know, it kind of like comes towards you, but surrounds you. Then there's like this rumble swell. This swell is actually it's another sound sample where, let me take the EQ off and I'll just solo this. You can kind of hear it. So it's pretty cool, but that's not what I was looking for. I wanted like a rumble. So all I did was I just boosted the hell out of the low end and then I cut all the high end out. So that little transition right there is kind of like our gateway to the rest of the song. Now we'll play this section a little bit. So obviously we have metal guitars, metal bass, metal drums all going, and we're going to come back to that. The next section is just an organ pretty much by itself, just drowned in reverb again. All right, you get the idea there, but I want to point out this next little piece. There's the bass slides. Yep. So I don't know if it was intentional, but obviously I've been a musician for many years, and I've been doing music production and recording my own stuff only for a few years. But sometimes your influences just creep up on you, and they could come from anywhere. And I don't know if it was me being influenced by something else, or I just came up with something and tried to fit it to the influence. But basically, those bass slides, when I had the castle music from Super Mario World in mind as I was tracking that. So it's just kind of funny how that happens. For the rhythm guitars, they just kind of pan left and right. So that's generates some interest. But then I have this, this was, sometimes you do these late additions, like you do these little things as you kind of work towards the end of a project like this, is this tambourine right here. So that comes in there just a little bit, and this is the only section that actually uses this tambourine, but it's panned all the way to the right, and there's so much reverb on it that the tail just kind of carries over to the left, like a little bit gradually, and I think it's pretty cool. So you kind of get the idea there. Okay, now we get to the main groove. So this is where pretty much all the metal happens. So the drums, the bass, the guitars, and the orchestra. So the orchestra you've kind of been hearing so far. So let me just play this one section. One other thing I'll mention here is this little change up in the same section. Okay, so let me just solo the lead lines. So that second lead line that comes in right here was actually part of the horn section in the original song. So I just rearranged that to just kind of double up with this other lead line. Obviously, I don't have a horn section in my orchestra. I just stuck with strings. Okay, then we get to, we're about almost halfway there, and then we have this vocal section. So in the original song, this section is pretty much a cappella. There's a male choir just singing kind of these vocal lines in Latin. And normally when you're working on covers that are instrumental, especially like video game music covers, you're trying to think of creative ways to translate the original song into your own arrangement. And then in a section like this where it's all just vocals and it's just really one note, there's really no melody, what do you do? So after a while, I was like, I'll just do my own damn vocals. I mean, I'm not a vocalist. I don't feel comfortable doing vocals, but like this section doesn't have a melody, so I was like, okay, I can probably do this, and I recruited some help for that too. So let me go to our vocal section here. So before I play this, you can kind of see that there's just multiple layers of vocals, just drowned in delay and reverb. D, do, So you get the idea there. Eric Peabody, aka Viking Guitar, helped me out with this section by contributing some of his own vocal lines. He's also in the video of this song too. So what he gave me were a couple tenor lines and some alto lines, and these alto lines were ones that I felt like didn't really fit what I was going for because they were just too high pitched. So let me just play these raw, and Eric, if you're watching this and you have any apprehension about your alto vocals, you've been warned that I'm about to play these. Okay. So based on what I was thinking about for this section, that just wasn't working for me. However, I just said, well, what if we just pitched that down a couple octaves? And this is what I got. So it's kind of creepy and unsettling. You can tell that it's processed though, so I kind of like buried it down there. So if you really, really listen in this section, you actually hear that kind of stuff. But it's, like I said, it's just kind of like this weird, unsettling feeling that's just kind of just tucked away in there. Okay, so now we get to what I call the Windowpane section. So what I love is that when we had our listening party for the release of this compilation, there were at least two people who picked up on the fact that that they were hearing Swedish metal vibes. And Opeth is one of my biggest influences. They're basically a progressive death metal band. They don't really do the death metal thing anymore these days. But back when they were really heavy into the metal stuff, they did an album of just kind of like very chill, melancholy type songs, which I think is one of their best records. The opening song from that record is called Windowpane, and I definitely took influences from that song to do this section, which is just pretty much all clean guitars. So let's play that. So, I mean, I think the point I'm trying to make here is the sky's the limit. You could do whatever you want, bring all your influences forward to bear, and that's what I did here. Next, in this kind of the second part of the Windowpane section, there's a bunch of whispers that kind of come in, like you kind of hear them out in the ether, and they kind of surround you. So let's just play that for a little bit. So that was yet another thing that I kind of added towards the end. But what this really is, and let me just solo that. So it's various parts of dialogue from Bloodborne, specifically from Laurence and Willem. And I would be grossly oversimplifying the lore and the plot of Bloodborne if I said that a lot of the bad things that happen in the game are because of the dynamic between these two characters, but it goes way, way deeper than that. However, I thought this was kind of something subtle and something kind of neat to put in as I was like wrapping up the mixing of this, just to kind of create this uneasy feeling of being surrounded by all of these people as you exit this section and we get into the final couple sections. All right, so after this section, things kind of build back up and the band comes back. So that's just basically the same melody from the previous clean guitar section. It's just everything's heavy and metal again, and the orchestra is in full force. So let's get to the outro. I don't think any metal cover would be complete with some kind of chugging guitar. So let's get to that. All right, so what I want to point out here is the wah. The wah here is this John Petrucci Crybaby, which I am absolutely in love with. You'd have to cut my legs off if I were to not use this anymore. But this just has a crazy amount of range. And to me, like, when I hear that, like, I just visualize this monster maw just like opening and closing, like it's gonna swallow you up. And to me, that was pretty appropriate for this song. And this wouldn't be the first time that I've used this wah in an outro. And then when the song ends, it's just this final note. And you can hear the cellos just kind of sustaining out that last note for quite a while, and then it eventually cuts out, and then there's a reverb tail. I think, you know, I was talking about how there's that transition where you have the gateway into the song, and like this is you kind of coming out of the tunnel. Okay, well, if you're watching this, I hope you found this interesting, whether you just kind of wanted to see what I was thinking about from a creative perspective, or maybe if you're a musician yourself and like maybe just need ideas or where you draw inspiration from, which can be pretty much anywhere. So this is something that I really enjoyed working on. It was a lot of work. I pushed the envelope creatively. I did a lot of things that I hadn't done before, got out of my comfort zone. But again, I wanted to do something special for this compilation. So please, if you haven't already, go check out this compilation. It is pay what you want. And it is just full of songs from extremely talented people. And it was pretty much an honor and a privilege for me to be a part of this compilation. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.